Chapter 15. The Anti-Star, Billie Eilish, Indie Wave. The Rise of the Anti-Star. The anti-star is not the absence of image. It is one of the most sophisticated image systems in modern music. Where the traditional pop star is built around polish, aspiration, glamour, and visibility, the anti-star moves in the opposite direction. It rejects perfection. It resists easy sexualization. It favors awkwardness, privacy, darkness, oversized forms, strange colors, and emotional opacity. It often looks as if it does not want to be looked at, while creating an image so distinctive that it becomes impossible to ignore. Billie Eilish is the defining anti-star of the post-2015 era. Her arrival changed the visual grammar of global pop. She did not enter the mainstream through the conventional language of pop femininity, sparkling stage wear, body-conscious silhouettes, choreographed glamour, or high-gloss reinvention. Instead, she built an identity around concealment, discomfort, and teenage interiority. Her early visual world felt closer to a bedroom, a nightmare, a skate park, an internet subculture, and a horror film than to the historical architecture of pop stardom. This made her feel honest to a generation suspicious of overproduced celebrity. The more mainstream entertainment became filtered, optimized, and aspirational, the more powerful it became to appear unpolished, uneasy, and self-protective. The anti-star does not defeat celebrity by refusing identity. It defeats celebrity by creating a different kind of identity, one based on distance rather than invitation. Anti-star as visual strategy. The anti-star is often misread as accidental style. In reality, it functions as a highly legible system. Its key message is, I am not performing desirability on your terms. This is crucial. Traditional pop image often depends on accessibility. The artist must be admired, desired, imitated, or projected onto. The anti-star complicates this contract. The viewer is not welcomed into a fantasy of perfection. Instead, they encounter a figure who appears guarded, strange, emotionally intense, or even hostile to the gaze. In Billie Eilish's case, the early system was built from several strong codes: oversized clothing that distorted or erased body shape, neon hair and unnatural color accents, streetwear proportions, especially large tees, shorts, hoodies, and sneakers, horror-inflected imagery, black liquid, spiders, darkness, blank stares, deadpan facial expression and low-energy posture, childlike or teenage bedroom references made eerie or surreal, a refusal of conventional red carpet femininity. The result was instantly recognizable. Even before hearing the music, one could identify the silhouette, a small figure swallowed by enormous clothes, moving through a palette of acid green, black, white, gray, and occasional toxic color. This is the first major lesson of the anti-star: rejection must still be designed. A vague refusal is not enough. The audience needs repeatable signals. The anti-star must create a visual grammar of discomfort, privacy, or non-compliance that can scale across music videos, live shows, editorial shoots, street style, thumbnails, and fan imitation. Billie's anti-pop system worked because it was simple enough to decode and flexible enough to evolve. The oversized silhouette. Silhouette is the foundation of the anti-star. Color as disruption. Color in the anti-star system is rarely decorative. It is disruptive. Billie Eilish's early black and neon green palette became one of the most recognizable color signatures in contemporary music. The green roots against dark hair operated almost like a logo. It was not subtle, elegant, or traditionally flattering. It looked toxic, synthetic, digital, and slightly monstrous. That was the point. The anti-star uses color to disturb expectations. Instead of warm glamour, it may choose sickly green, washed-out beige, bruised purple, gray, black, or harsh white. Instead of beauty, it may pursue mood. Instead of harmony, it may choose tension. Billie's color system aligned perfectly with her sonic world. Her music often combined whisper intimacy with heavy bass, lullaby softness with menace, vulnerability with threat. The green-black visual code translated that contradiction into image, teenage softness infected by something darker. This matters because strong visual identity does not simply match the music. It gives the music a body. The best artist colors are not random aesthetics. They are emotional shortcuts. When the audience sees them, they feel the sound before pressing play. The face of refusal. The anti-star often rejects the smile. In mainstream pop history, the smile has been a tool of accessibility. It reassures the viewer. It says the artist is pleased to be seen. The anti-star's face often communicates the opposite: boredom, suspicion, sadness, numbness, or blank intensity. Billie Eilish's early visual presence used this refusal effectively. Her expressions often seemed flat, detached, or confrontational. She did not perform constant gratitude for attention. She stared back. This created a powerful inversion. The audience was not simply watching her, they were being watched by her. For younger fans, this mattered. Many had grown up with social media's demand for constant self-presentation: smile, pose, optimize, appear happy, be available. Billie's visual language gave permission to look uncomfortable. It made alienation visible. The anti-star does not need to appear careless. In fact, the careless look is often carefully controlled. But the emotional message must remain intact: I do not exist to reassure you. This is why posture is as important as clothing. Slouched shoulders, heavy movement, minimal gesture, downward gazes, and deadpan delivery all reinforce the archetype. The anti-star does not bounce toward the audience. They may drift, sink, stare, or withdraw. Bedroom intimacy and nightmare scale. One of Billie Eilish's strongest contributions to modern identity design is the fusion of bedroom intimacy with cinematic darkness. Her early image felt private, almost homemade: a teenager in loose clothes, surrounded by ordinary spaces, whispering uncomfortable thoughts. But that intimacy was expanded through surreal and horror-driven imagery. The bedroom became uncanny. The body became strange. The everyday became threatening. This formula is central to the indie wave that rose through streaming and social platforms after 2015. Many artists in this space did not begin with stadium-scale visuals. They began with rooms, bathrooms, streets, cars, mirrors, and phone camera realism. Their identities grew from proximity rather than spectacle. The anti-star thrives in this environment because digital culture rewards the feeling of closeness. Fans want to believe they are not watching a manufactured celebrity, but encountering a person inside their actual emotional habitat. Yet closeness alone is not enough. Many artists look casual. Few become iconic. Billie's breakthrough came from combining closeness with symbolic exaggeration. The audience encountered someone who felt like a real teenager, but also like a character from a dream, a horror story, or a psychological portrait. That combination gave the identity scale. A purely casual artist may feel relatable but visually forgettable. A purely theatrical artist may feel impressive but distant. The anti-star succeeds when it is both intimate and mythic. The indie wave and anti-brand branding. Billie Eilish sits at the global pop end of a broader indie and alternative visual movement: anti-brand branding. This movement rejects the traditional signs of pop professionalism. Instead of bright promotional polish, it leans into lo-fi photography, awkward posing, thrifted or ordinary garments, unstyled hair, muted or strange color palettes, visual references to suburbia, loneliness, nightlife, or adolescence imperfection as proof of authenticity. Artists across indie pop, alternative R&B, bedroom pop, and post-genre scenes have used this language to build trust. The visual message is clear: I am not a corporation. I am not a product. I am a person. But in modern music, even anti-brand becomes brand. This is not a criticism. It is a structural reality. Once an artist repeats a refusal often enough, the refusal becomes recognizable. Once the audience can identify the slouch, the grainy photo, the oversized sweater, the empty room, or the awkward stare, those elements become a system. The danger is that anti-branding can become generic. If every artist uses washed-out photos, baggy clothes, handwritten typography, and blank expressions, the strategy loses force. The anti-star must therefore locate a sharper personal code. Billie had the neon hair, the horror pop tension, the extreme silhouette, and the whispered menace. Those details separated her from the broader wave. For emerging artists, the lesson is important: authenticity is not a substitute for specificity. Evolution without betrayal. A major challenge for the anti-star is growth. What happens when an artist built on resisting glamour becomes globally famous? What happens when the outsider becomes the center? What happens when the anti-pop figure becomes one of the biggest pop stars in the world? Billie Eilish's later visual evolution shows how an anti-star can expand without fully abandoning the original logic. Her image has moved through softer glamour, vintage femininity, blonde hair, darker elegance, and more adult styling. At times, she has deliberately confronted the audience's assumptions about her body and presentation. This evolution was necessary. A fixed anti-star image can become a cage. If the artist is only allowed to hide, then concealment becomes another form of control. The key is not to preserve every surface code forever. The key is to preserve the central tension. For Billie, that tension has remained: visibility versus privacy, softness versus threat, vulnerability versus control, femininity versus resistance to objectification. The clothes may change. The hair may change. The level of glamour may change. But the deeper identity still questions what the audience is allowed to consume. This separates true archetypal identity from mere styling. Styling changes the look. Archetype controls the meaning of the change. Building an anti-star system. For artists, creative directors, and designers, the anti-star offers a practical framework, but it must be handled carefully. It cannot be reduced to wear baggy clothes and look sad. That produces imitation, not identity. To build an anti-star system, begin with the central refusal. What are you rejecting? Are you rejecting glamour? Gender expectations? Constant happiness? Luxury signaling? Sexual availability? Celebrity polish? Genre purity? Social media perfection? The refusal must be personal enough to feel emotionally real and simple enough for an audience to understand. Next, translate that refusal into design choices. If the refusal is about being consumed, the silhouette may conceal the body. If it is about rejecting polish, the textures may be raw, wrinkled, or ordinary. If it is about emotional numbness, the palette may be gray, black, or washed out. If it is about digital anxiety, the colors may be synthetic, overexposed, or screen-like. Then create repeatable codes. An anti-star still needs consistency. This may include a recurring garment shape, a color accent, a type of photography, a posture, a hairstyle, a prop, or a specific facial language. The identity should be recognizable even when the outfit changes. Finally, protect the mystery. The anti-star loses power when over-explained. The audience should sense emotional truth without receiving a full brand manual. There must be gaps, shadows, and contradictions. The image should invite interpretation, not deliver a slogan. The anti-star's modern power. The anti-star is powerful because it speaks to a cultural moment defined by visibility fatigue. Contemporary audiences are surrounded by polished self-performance, influencers, celebrities, advertisements, luxury campaigns, algorithmic beauty, and constant personal branding. In that environment, refusal becomes magnetic. Awkwardness becomes relief. Concealment becomes statement. Darkness becomes intimacy. Billie Eilish did not become globally influential by having no image. She became influential by building an image that questioned the rules of image itself. That is the paradox at the heart of the anti-star. It is a star system built from anti-stardom. It uses concealment to create visibility. It uses discomfort to create connection. It uses refusal to create desire. It tells the audience, you cannot have all of me, and in doing so, makes the visible parts unforgettable. For modern music identity, this archetype is essential. Not every artist needs to be glamorous. Not every performer needs to be aspirational. Not every visual system must seduce. Some identities are built by withholding, distorting, protecting, and resisting. The anti-star reminds us that visual power does not always come from shining brighter. Sometimes it comes from turning away.